So this is what's been happening in Limpopo, straight from the Premier's office. I've been taking notes, and I'm gonna have a whole presentation soon. But I figured to talk about it a little bit. Because yeah, it is what it is. It's called the Limpopo Economic Development Programme, LDP 2034. That's assuming that this current administration makes it to 2 terms. So the goals, target, strategies for accelerated growth in Limpopo. Like the general idea, right, is that we're going to find soft goals, soft targets, and then have them avalanche into bigger, more sophisticated goals and targets. As you've seen already, they've hit the ground running. And the whole idea is to recenter and recreate Limpopo as a SADC economic growth engine while putting South African youth first. I mean, this 1%, 0.1% thing that's South Africa doing is not right. So Limpopo wants to be the engine for, increased growth for the country and the region. So we're going to strengthen already existing industries while diversifying into low beta of entry, high productivity output industries. That is the entire idea. Small goals that will avalanche into bigger goals, by strengthening already existing industries and then diversifying into low beta of entry but high productivity output industries. All of that to recenter and recreate Limpopo as a SADC economic growth engine while putting South African youth first. That is the entire idea from this administration. And these are basically the industries or the general idea behind it. The Polokwane-Mankweng Special Economic Corridor speaks to the city of Polokwane becoming a metropolitan area and realizing that the city of Polokwane as a metropolitan area is growing with Mankweng, is growing with Seshego, and is growing with Botlokwa. So the growth or the planning of Limpopo for the next 10 years, 20 years has to include these areas as kind of one breathing organism. You cannot separate Polokwane from Mankweng anymore, or from Seshego, and effectively from Botlokwa, because it is becoming one greater economic or industrial metropolitan area or corridor. So when you think about developing Polokwane, you have to speak about its surrounding areas, because as a metropolitan, it's going to become one larger thing. And the other thing is the circular economy. This is the one that is a low barrier of entry, low-hanging fruit that can actually be done by this province or any other region in the continent or the country. By creating a circular economy, this is one of the easiest ways to kind of increase production. These are low barrier of entry but high productivity output industries, and the circular economy is one of them, because you are ultimately using waste, which is something that can be for free, as an economic input to create other products and services. So this is like one of those things. The inter-provincial high-speed train is to speak of something that's already happening, right? The Joburg to Polokwane train, and we feel like it has to get to Messina. It just has to get to Messina because Bay Bridge. You know what I'm saying? It has to get to Messina. But ultimately, again, when you're developing the entire metropolitan transport infrastructure and logistics system, you have to include Botlokwa, Seshego, and Mankweng as part of Polokwane. So even if we're with the buses that are already happening in Polokwane, they have to get to Mankweng soon. I think they already work in Seshego and Westernburg, but they have to get to Mankweng soon. They have to get to Botlokwa soon, because if you travel from Mankweng to Polokwane, you know that these roads are already too small. So you can imagine what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years, right? Going into next, auto manufacturing. Tswane and KZN already have strong ecosystems. Like South Africa is one of the very few countries in Africa. I'll say maybe Nigeria, Algeria. There's like maybe one more, Ethiopia, and I think maybe one more, right? There's maybe five or so countries that actually assemble cars in the continent. Some for Europe and some for Africa and otherwise. And I feel like South Africa has to strengthen all of that using beneficiation, which is down there also in the list, so that we can kind of now not just assemble but create parts, using another low barrier of entry industry, 3D printing, and others, to actually now grow the entire auto manufacturing industry. And that is where like Polokwane is trying to find its foot within the auto manufacturing industry. We have mines, we have all of these things that we can then beneficiate our minerals into the auto manufacturing system and have an entire value chain within the country, within the continent, right? Agri-tech, agro-processing, that's like, actually, there's so much, there's so much. Where are we? We're agro-processing. yeah, the whole idea is to produce too much, consume enough, and export the surplus, right? Even creating like shared industrial co-working space using the fashion sample production value chain model, right? So where you can go into a space and say, I have a design for a certain dress, and they can create a sample for you, maybe even create 5 samples for you. Then you go and you test it out in the market, then you come back and you want to mass produce, right? We need to have things like that where, you get into a shared co-working space or shared manufacturing space, and you're like, yo, I'm trying to create this kind of product because I have all of this corn, or because I have all of these tomatoes. They're like, oh, actually, we can help you create this kind of product. You need ABC, you need ABC. They have chefs with you there if you need kind of chefs. And then we create the perfect product. Then you go to market. And if you want to come back and mass produce, they also have the tools to help you mass produce, and maybe even help you with the help of the government again, buy machines to then set up your own manufacturing plant. And you can get the know-how and the help from this shared industrial co-working space for agro-processing and agro-tech. And there's also going to be a youth in agro processing conference soon. That maybe shouldn't have been in this, but we're already here, guys. There's beneficiation, like I said, man, beneficiation to feed into the automotive industry, the circular economy and green energy, energy storage and transmission, 3D printing, agri-tech and agro processing. So all of these industries, all of these bullet points that you've seen, somehow interlinked with each other, because like I said, we're using what's already existing and then finding low barrier of entry but high productivity industries that work within already existing ecosystems within the province. Because there's a lot of knowledge production in this province. There are centers of unemployed youth that are graduates from FETs and from universities that need to be put to work in this province. So we're going to try things. Some will fail and some will work, but we know that like just the energy of putting youth to work and trying things will result in a lot of like functional things. So if we're building a new hospital, right, an academic hospital, and there's a lot of opportunity for medical tourism within this country specifically. Like people sometimes don't even go to Turkey anymore for hair implants. They go to Cape Town, but we use the Turkey type international private specialized medicine model to kind of create medical tourism that can bring foreign money into. I haven't necessarily read the NHI, but yeah, that's kind of the other work that we need to do, right? Align of this with already existing bills so that it works within the already existing legal landscape of the country. And yeah, the last one is man, look, Limpopo tourism, so we're gonna build an observation wheel, we're gonna build a silo, a ski silo using a waste to energy plant. I think there's one somewhere in Europe, right, where they have a waste to energy plant, meaning you burn the waste and you turn it into electricity, but the tower is actually also a slope where people ski on. We want to do that. It's so hot here, we need an indoor ice skating rink. There's just like a lot to do. And then what's media entertainment? Come on, Limpopo. The biggest artist in the country is from Limpopo. The biggest upcoming artist in the country is from Limpopo. This is Shebe and Makat. And then we'll just throw Master KG and Monata. Master KG is also one of the biggest international acts that we have, at least when it comes to that one big song and other big songs that he had. So like we just need more infrastructure that can then unearth all of this talent that we already have so that we can compete effectively, not just in the country, but in the world, as Botayla, Botusambedi, and others have showed us. So this is what's happening in Limpopo. I hope I can come back and give you the rest of this after the presentation, because ultimately it's going to be public knowledge. I think that's why I'm like so comfortable sharing it.